Hey guys, today I'm going to show you how to reload for the 30-06 M1 Garand. It'll be the same reload for the 30-06 Springfield. It's just a lighter load, a lighter powder charge, and a lighter bullet weight. You need to make sure when you reload for the M1 Garand that you don't put too much powder or too heavy a bullet. Standard load is 150 grain on your bullet weight. That's pretty much standard. If you buy M1 Garand over the counter ammo, it'll actually be listed M1 Garand, and most of them's 150 grain. So you take a chance on bending your operating rod if you use too strong a powder. It shows all your information. I'll find my right grain weight I'm looking for, 150 grain. And the best load is the IMR 4064. Printing out everything that I need so I can get the book out of my way. And you can see what I'm going to be reloading is a pointed nose bullet. For the standard 30-06 load, the book shows 48 grain. That's the standard load for the 30-06, not the M1 Garand. The book states use 2 to 3 grains less, so I've dropped it down to 45 grain. I'm still on a 150 grain bullet. And you want to make sure you use a pointed nose bullet. Don't use a round nose bullet and a semi-automatic. A lot of times they won't feed properly. That's what the book states. I've got a caliber. It's nothing fancy, not expensive or anything. You can get them pretty cheap. Frankfurt Arsenal. We'll see what our length on these are. Most of the time brass will stretch whenever you shoot it. These are right in the ballpark where they should be. We just measured the length of our cases. We're good on those. But I'm going to show you how to trim a case if you need to trim it, if it's longer than 2.48. I'm going to be using the Lee quick trim die. It's for single stage press. I mean, this stuff's about as cheap as you can get, and it's good for the person just starting out. You don't have a whole lot of money invested. You got to get a quick trim die. They sell them individually. And you can see up here, I've got several of them for different. You got to buy each one for different calibers. Now you want to take your quick trim die. I can't hardly say it. That's for a 30-06. It's got a little plate to catch your metal shavings. I'm going to be using the Lyman Deluxe Rifle 3-die set. It comes with a shell holder. It'll come with a shell holder that goes in your single stage press. That slides over to that. It'll catch all your metal shavings. You just want to take your case. It'll slide right in your shell holder. The quick trim die comes with a handle. It just pivots. It's got a spring-loaded cutter on it. Once you push down on it, it'll chamfer the inside of the case and the outside of the case at the same time. You just set it in there. What you do here is your adjustments, a little black plastic piece here, that'll raise it up or down. always start high and keep trimming until you start cutting, and then once you do, measure it with your case, your calibers. Just want to mash your single stage press all the way down. That'll push your case up against the seat on your quick trim die here, right there. Hold down on your handle, just push down on your cutter, rotate it. 3, 4, 5 turns, you're done. Like I say, I've already got this set. You're just gonna have to experiment with it. Adjust it up or down. Like I say, start high, and then you can always, if you cut it short the first time, the case is no good. If you get a case that's too short, it'll raise your pressure. I've got a Lee electric case prep tool. That'll do the inside of your case, and that'll do the outside of your case. You want to get your alignment case lube pad, and what that does, you'll take some case lube, don't matter what brand. I just happen to have Dillon. You want to lubricate your pad. And then you want to put your case on it and roll your case over your lubricator. It gives it just an oily feel. If I'm not mistaken, the directions say let that dry. I usually just lubricate it and go reload them. I'm going to be using the Lyman dies. It's a 3 die set. I'm not going to show you how to set the dies up. What you need to do is whenever you get your die set, it has a complete instructions. It's very easy to do. It'll show you the complete step by step how to set your dies up. The reason I'm not going to tell you how to set your dies up, if you've got a different brand of dies, they may adjust different, they may set up different. So what you need to do, you need to make sure you just read whatever dies you've got and follow the instructions that come with it. I've made videos in the past and people complain, well, why don't you show how to set the dies up? Go by your die instructions for different manufacturers. That's the best way to do it. That way you know you got your dies set up right. You want to start out with a Lee sizing die. It's got a decrimper pin on it. And once you mash it down, this will pop up and pop your primer out of the back of your case. Just put it on there, finger tight it. You always want to pay attention to your primer. Make sure it's been used. You don't ever want to de-prime a round that's got a live round in it. Got a live primer. Especially if you're working around powder. Same way here, put your round in your shell holder. And then you want to push it down. It should click. I heard it. That resized my case, adjusted the stretch on my neck of my case. That resets your angle on your case, so whenever you chamber up around, it'll chamber up properly. Now remove that die. When you're doing these and you're doing a bunch of them, when you put your die in, go ahead and resize all your dies. You want to put one die in and do all your cases while this one die's in. You don't want to keep changing. It's just quicker and easier. But I'm just going to show you all the steps how to load one round. Now I'm coming back to my case prep tool. There's my primer pocket cleaner. Cut it on. You can see the pocket. I just go around in a circle. That cleans the dust out of your primer pocket. You can see it. I've got this neck expanding die set up. It goes in just a little ways in my round here, not very much. And you can feel it. It doesn't do much. It'll make sure your case neck is round, and it'll expand it just enough to where your bullet will sit there and start. That's all you need. You don't need to expand it down just about maybe 1/8 of an inch, maybe not even that deep, but have it just where your bullet will sit on your case. A lot of these are boat tail bullets, or the back of the bullets are rounded, so they'll usually sit there okay. Next step you want to do, you've got to install your primer in your case. That's pretty much straightforward, easy to do if you got the right tools. Like I say, there's several different ways you can do it, but I'm going to show you what works for me. I've got a Lee Auto Bench Prime. Like I say, a lot of this stuff I've got here, it's just a very inexpensive way to reload. I've got a Dillon press right here that I use for my pistol calibers. I shoot more pistols than I do rifles. This is made to be bolted down. I usually just take a couple clamps. Just do it temporary. Seems to work pretty good for no more than what I'm doing. It's got a little plastic tray you put your primers in, and you can see on your got little insert priming heads. They're labeled large and small. This is the large. Look in your manual. It'll tell you what size primers you need. Large rifles, what I'm fixing to use. And that'll slide in just like that. Now you're going to need a priming tool shell holder. It'll come with a list. I don't know if you can read it or not, but you need to look up your caliber. It'll give you a number, tells you what size shell holder to use. This one happened to be a number 2. You can look on the shell holder. It'll have a number stamped on it. That's number 2. You take your shell holder, turn the open part up, raise up on your handle, push down on your head, and that should slide right in there. Mash down a little. Should slide all the way in. It locked in place. Now you're ready to go. Then you want to take your case, slide it in the shell holder. It should hold it. I'm using Winchester primers. You can use any brand you want. Like I say, make sure it's large rifle. Be careful when you open them because they'll dump out if you got them upside down. I only need one primer, so I'm just getting out one primer. When you put your primers in your shell holder, make sure that your locking device is up, and put your primer in it to where it is up. Slide your case down, and that'll lock it shut. Then you can rattle your primer down. It'll come down there so far and stop. Once I insert this in the machine, turn it to on, and that'll release the primer and let it go down. And that goes in a little groove just like that. Like I say, I got the primer going up so it'll go in the shell. It slid right in there. Now all we gotta do is set the primer. That didn't feel like it went deep enough. My handle's hitting. There it is. You can see it seated the primer. I always like to double check them. I'll put them in there and rotate them around, make sure they're seated good. That feels like it's seated good. It's good and smooth, good and level. We're good shape on that. And I'll get all this stuff out of the way. We're done with this. Now we're going to be using the Lee Perfect Powder Measure. It comes with a super precise measuring caliber with it. I usually don't use that. The kind of shooting I do is not target shooting, long range or whatever. That's pretty much what that's for. I use the quick change dies that come with it. I've got a die for different size calibers. I've got them labeled. That's for 30-06, and it's got a little adjustment key that goes in the top of it here. It's got a little slot you slide it in. Goes like that. Then you got a little knob. You thread it into the other side of the die. Like I say, just snug it up. If you over tighten it, it won't work right. It's too tight. Just get it where it works. If you get it too loose, your powder will hang up. If you get it just right, that comes with trial and error, just till it feels good. We're going to be using IMR 4064. It's a pretty much universal rifle powder. It's a good powder. For rifle reloading, I buy an 8-pound container. It's a whole lot more economical. A lot more expensive, but I mean, it's when you buy, you give 20 whatever dollars now, it's probably $35 a pound. It's a whole lot cheaper to buy it like this. You want to make sure whenever you're using your powder measure, I've got these labeled closed and open. If you put it in like that, you're automatically going to dump powder into your charge. Turn to where it's closed. And no more than what I'm going to be using. I'm going to put just a little bit in it. Now you're going to need some way to weigh the amount of powder you're getting ready to put in your shell casing. Again, it's just a Frankfurt Arsenal. It's just a cheap little scale. Nothing fancy. They're probably, I don't know, 40, 50 bucks. They're not expensive. It's got a a tare feature. It's got a light. You can change the units of measure. Turn it on. Should go to 0. Yeah, I gotta lay it down. Yeah, there it is. Turn it back off. Got to be laying on a flat surface. I got it set to grains and it's on 0. Open up your powder, your hopper. I'll run a few rounds through it. Make sure everything's working good. You want to put your little hopper catcher, powder catcher up there. Then you want to tear it out so it goes back to 0. And then go back there and weigh it, and that'll give you your powder measure. I am 44.6. And you can see on here, I want to be 45 grains. So I'm going to check it one more time. A lot of times this powder measure, it's accurate, but it's okay. It's not real accurate. So I mean, you know, we may be 45 now. I'm going to check it again. And I'll go back here and weigh it. See, I'm 44.8. As close as that is, I'm not going to adjust anything. The next one may be 44. Well, I see 44.9. I'm going to leave it right there. I had it set for the 30-06 M1 Grand round anyway. It's got a little funnel under the loading chute. You just take your shell, put under it, raise it all the way up, all the way down. And that's got your powder in your case. Once you get your powder in your case, cut your hopper back off. Like I say, you still got powder in it, so you want to make sure you empty out your loading chute. That's why I labeled it, to make sure you know, because I have took that off before and powder dump every place. And your next die is labeled your seat die. That'll be what seats your bullet on your case. I've already got this adjusted according to the directions in the die. It's got a little set screw, little Allen set screw. Once you get it adjusted where you want, tight that set screw up. That'll be set there for the depth of the round that I'm doing. Slide your round in. Make sure it's not a round nose bullet. Set it on top of your case. You can feel it seat on your seating die. And we're going to reset my bullet, see what we got now. Man, that is close. Look at there, 3,200. It don't get no better than that. 3.2 inches. That's perfect. I mean, that's the specs. That's exactly what you want. Now the next die you want to get is your crimping die. This die will crimp your brass case to your bullet, and that's not so critical in a single shot or a bolt action, depending on the rifle. But when you got a semi-automatic rifle, you've got to have a crimp on there. I usually have good luck with a taper crimp. I think that's what I've got this set on, a tapered crimp. Slide you around in, and then just pull your handle down. And that put just a little bit of crimp on my round. I think I need just a little more crimp. Oh yeah, that feels good there. That'll give it just a little crimp where it'll chamber up, feed good in your semi-automatic rifle. That round's done. It's ready to shoot. All the stuff that I showed you here today is just about as cheap as you can reload. Pretty much pistol cartridge, rifle cartridge. It's not that much difference as far as equipment that you need, other than you need maybe a few more probably for rifle cartridges. But like I say, I pretty much do all of my pistol cartridge. I've got a Dillon 550B that I reload my pistol cartridge, because that's the majority of what I shoot. You can tell by all my brass cases and all my other stuff, and all my reloading heads, all my other stuff. All of that is pretty much for my Dillon press, and they can be pretty expensive. I've got several $1,000s in this one. I might have, I don't know, $300 or $400. That was several years back, before now all this stuff got so expensive. Now there's no telling what you'll have in this. You'll have probably over $500 in all this reloading stuff, which, I mean, that's still cheap. That's not counting your reloading stuff you're gonna need as far as your brass cases, your lead, your bullets, your powder. That's just your equipment, which really that's not bad, because I mean, you go when you're paying $1 a shot for 9mm or 45, it don't take long with this. This stuff will pay for itself. Hey guys, I appreciate y'all watching.